Hi everyone, this is a yellow flannel review, but I'm too lazy to change my shirt here. It's nice and warm. The internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Krallice album, Crystalline Exhaustion. This is the newest full-length LP from New York black metal outfit Krallice, one of the longest-running black metal acts out of the US currently. Krallice hit just as there was a sudden wave of interest in atmospheric black metal in the US, which spread across the hipster and indie blogs like wildfire in the late 2000s. Though Krallice's sound and style was decidedly more progressive and technical than many of their contemporaries at the time. And how could they not be, with avant-garde metal virtuosos Colin Marston and Mick Barr writing so many of the riffs and winding song structures in these tracks. At the time, Krallice had just been one of many bands that Mick and Colin, Nick McMaster and Lev Weinstein had been involved in, but in a couple short years it would become one of the most epic and consequential groups they'd ever start, especially since the release of Years Past Matter, which is easily one of the fiercest and most decimating American black metal records of all time. The thunderous mix, searing tremolo guitars, and tight but fluid drumming are just on another level. And the record still hits hard a decade later. Now, a lot of Krallice's core albums since the release of this LP haven't been nearly as robust, though the band did continue experimenting with different production styles, death metal elements, progressive elements, collaborations, synthesizers too, which have led to some of the most interesting moments on records like Go Be Forgotten, as well as Demonic Wealth, which was kind of the band's pandemic record. It was packed with some of their boldest and most interesting ideas in a long time, but they did release it with a decidedly imperfect mix. The instrumentation wasn't captured under the most ideal circumstances either, with the drums being recorded on a phone and the vocals said to be caught in a car near a swamp. Thankfully, Crystalline Exhaustion doesn't have any of those recording hangups or anything. I should also note there's a bit of a recording gimmick on this record, as I guess everyone on this LP except Lev switched instruments. In addition to that, it might just be Krallice's biggest and baddest record in years. The thunderous mixes and winding song structures and overall very large album experience, all of that is back in a big way. Plus, the band is really going full throttle on the death metal style vocals and the synthesizers, which give a lot of these tracks an eerie and wintry vibe. The synths on the intro, Frost, take more of a minimal approach, providing a light and chilly drone that sits on top of the crunchy and ever-changing layers of drums and guitars that hang below. Not really changing up Krallice's tried and true formula and sound, but it's there, it's providing something, it's an element. The pummeling performance and production on this track is really the driver of this song, and that's okay. It's a very visceral and unforgiving beginning to this LP, but it does hit a few lulls in its 10-minute runtime, and in comparison with everything else here, it's actually one of the weaker moments on the LP, even if it is pretty good. Which is another way of saying everything gets more exciting and intriguing from here, as the synths begin to take a bigger role on these tracks, and the riffs and rhythms that are presented evolve faster and faster. The synths on the song TELOS provide some pretty icy lead melodies, eventually giving way to some of the most twisted and discordant guitar passages I've heard since like the last Gorguts record. The track is 4 minutes long, but each section hits with a pretty great amount of contrast, with the last leg introducing these very airy chords that kind of envelop the band's guitars and drums. HEATHEN SWILL is absolutely relentless with some of the most muscular drums and riffs on the whole project. Really, the drumming on this track is a total workout and creates an almost hypnotic sensation for the 6 minutes it lasts, which is really enhanced by the ethereal synth leads and the spiraling riffs that you can really get lost in. The ARCHLIGHTS intro has a similar effect too. Eventually, the track breaks down into the slower bits that feature some of the most mysterious melodic interplay between the synths and guitars too. DISMAL Entity kicks off with these insanely complex and off-kilter galloping rhythms. There's a variety of synth patches on the track too, huge horns, spectral bells, a short and sweet ambient interlude too, which goes over better than some of the stuff the band was toying with on Go Be Forgotten. Then finally, we have the massive title track, which lasts 14 minutes and is really an edge of your seat listen, or at least it should be if you've been compelled by and you've withstood everything that has been hitting you up until this point, from the gorgeous and evocative progressive synth passages at the start of the track, eventually leading to this slow build of black metal guitars and drums that just gets thicker and thicker and heavier as it moves along, reaching this epic, fiery, immersive wall of sound sound. Yeah, it's a great ending to the project, and overall I think this really sounds like a new chapter for Krallice at the moment. The synths really have added a lot of color and dynamics to their already really great sound, and yet it sounds like they're just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible with this slightly different direction here. I think this thing's a great record, really Krallice's best in years. Feeling a light to decent 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is a video that you could check out and a dog barking. Yeah, that's what's there. Anthony Fantano, Krallice, forever.